Yep, live on Facebook. I see it.
All right, cool. Awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and do the I'm gonna admit everybody in.
Cool.
Okay. So we're gonna do the share screen first. And then okay. Hey Keith,
Hey, Joe.
how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I am doing wonderful today, and thank you for joining our webinar today, man. It's we're really fortunate to have you here, and
It's an honor. Thank you.
so Keith, again, welcome to our webinar here, and so what was I going to do? I'm trying to. Okay, there we go. All right, so one of the things I wanted to ask you is how are things out there in sunny California?
They're good here, man. They're good.
So again, for those of you joining us for the first time, this is Mr. Keith Fiala, and he is a Maynard alum, and he is currently the road manager for Mr. Arturo Sandoval. And on top of that, he's an amazing guy and a fantastic player, and we just like to welcome you with again, we're so fortunate to have you here. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, Keith, is that can you give us a little background on how'd you start?
Sure.
Where you came from? Yeah, and like who'd you study with?
Sure. I grew up in Iowa. I was actually born and raised in Mason City in Des Moines, Iowa. And the first example of a player was my uncle, who was a great trumpet player. And so he was actually my first teacher. But even before I was handed a horn, he handed me Dizzy Gillespie, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Maynard Ferguson, Doc Severinsen, a bunch of different people, and said, you need to listen to these guys. And so that was my first understanding of what a trumpet sounded like. So I knew who Jerry Hay was well before I knew who the Rolling Stones were.
Wow. Okay, cool. So you grew. What grade did you start playing trumpet, if you don't mind me asking?
In between third and fourth grade, believe it or not, back in the 70s, I was able to start early enough because my uncle was there. He guided me. I started in a summer band concert thing,
right,
in Mason City, Iowa.
Uh-huh.
And so, early on, I always had this like innate desire to play. And so when I got the horn, that's all I did. I just practiced and played. So I gained, should we say, ability pretty quick for someone my age.
Fantastic. And so so what was high school like for you? Like, were you like, again, were you lead trumpet in high school? I know that when we talked, you said that, the upper range, you had to work at it.
Oh, I struggled. Yeah.
Okay.
By the time I got into junior high, what they called junior high back in my day, and into high school, it was apparent what I wanted to do, which was go into music. And I was starting to hear the message of, oh, you'll starve, that's a nice hobby, but you need to go find a real job. And so I was starting to listen to a lot of that. And I wasn't practicing. I wasn't practicing the way I should have. If I could go back, to that time, I'd kick my own butt.
Right.
And I had a good lesson teacher, but he was allowing too many holes in the armor to slip through.
Okay.
It wasn't until my freshman year of college that my teacher found out I couldn't read.
Okay.
I could read the notes, but
right.
rhythms, I couldn't read rhythms at all. And I had slipped through the cracks because my instructor never stopped me and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Those are eighth notes. What are you doing?" I got really good at listening and playing back what I heard, but if I had no opportunity to hear what was happening, I was dead in the water.
Right. So like, here's the thing, like, solo and ensemble, things that a lot of the kids go through right now.
Huh?
How did you get through those things? I mean, I'm sure you competed, and I'm sure you did all-state jazz, you did this, that, and the other. How did you?
Well, when I was in school, there wasn't the solo and ensemble thing and the all-state jazz and stuff like that like there is nowadays. Yes, I was in the jazz band. Yes, my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I played lead for the big band.
Right.
My freshman year, I was stuck more on fourth, just to kind of get my feet wet.
Right.
So any solo that I had to do was largely for the school or for auditions at getting into college and whatnot.
Okay.
And so I was doing like the Haydn, the Hummel, but again, I was given examples of players such as Maurice Andre and Wynton Marsalis,
right,
and people like that playing those solos, so I could actually listen to see what they were doing and then basically just memorize it.
Right. Okay. So you basically memorized a lot of your rap, right?
I did.
Okay. You know what? You and I are in the same boat. I had trouble reading too when I was in high school. That was my weakest thing, but I had chops. So
Yeah.
it got me by. So all right. So after high school, man, where'd you go to college?
Well, I went 1 year to University of Texas at Austin. And
that's a good school.
It is, yeah. I studied with Ray Cressara. I was granted a full ride scholarship. Ray and I didn't get along so well. I got kicked out of a couple lessons for cussing because I got so frustrated. There were things, he intimidated me in a big way, largely because my first lesson with him, I walk in the room and he plays this most perfect F, first bass, and it's just beautiful from the beginning of the note to the middle of the note to the end of the note. And I was like shaking, it was like, I can't do that.
We've all been there.
So because I was intimidated by him, I wanted to do well, but I was also scared. Yeah. So I wasn't putting in the work. So I went through my first year squeaking by, let's say. Right. Lost my scholarship because the Texas legislation at that point had decided that in-state kids need to stay in-state, out-of-state kids need to pay full tuition. I couldn't afford that, so I quit. And I quit playing completely for 2.5 years.
So what got you back in? Like, what got you?
I missed it. I was miserable.
Yeah. You know what? Here's one thing too, and one thing I like about you, Keith, and I really dug about your philosophy on playing and this, that, and the other, is that you understand what a lot of people go through, and a lot of people don't talk about the struggles that we all had, the disappointment, the I'm not good enough.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never be a professional musician. A lot of let me ask you this, we can just touch on this real quick.
Sure.
We've all had, I'm sure some of us, and to some of the kids out there and some of the students out there in college and high school, when you have someone who you really care about or you really look up to tell you, you know what, kid, sell your horn. What is your philosophy? Like, what would you tell them?
The kid or the person saying that?
Well, we all know what we tell the person saying that, but I'm just saying, if you were to take that kid off to the side after hearing that, what would you tell them?
I would, first and foremost, whatever your dream is, whether it be trumpet playing or car racing or becoming a banker or whatever, don't let anybody ever squash your dreams, because they are not responsible for your dream. You are. And learning that, I've learned that my dream to be a musician, I have to care for it like it's a brand new baby.
Right.
And I keep that safe and away from people that I know that wouldn't support that dream. Anybody that would look at me and say, "Oh, you're not talented enough," because I've been there. I've had so many people, make fun of me and say things that were just very cruel.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to recover from.
It's so, with that being said, tell us how you got how you overcame that. You quit playing for 2 years. You said you missed it.
Oh, I missed it.
How'd you get on the Maynard band?
Well, I actually got back into playing. I was working full time for a company. I was really a worker bee, basically punching the clock, working 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, punching the clock at the end of the day, living for weekends and hating my life.
Right.
And so I got involved after starting to play again. I got involved with a local cover band that was just starting up called Memphis Train Review.
Okay.
And in fact, I stayed with them for 22 years, with 1 year break when I was with Maynard. Fast forwarding up through, I kind of clunked around. I didn't really play professionally full time until 98, 97, 98.
Right.
Did it for a year. Figured I wasn't making enough money. I wasn't good enough. Went back and started working full time again. And then I started working for a music store, and that ended badly. I quit because the owner of the store and a few other people that worked for the store we did not get along.
Right.
And at that point, I went, you know what? I'm done listening to other people. I'm done hearing that I'm not talented enough. I'm done hearing that I'm going to starve to death.
Yeah.
And I went full time teaching lessons and playing cover gigs.
Right.
I had met several players that introduced me to guys that played with Maynard in the past.
Like who, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. Carlos Sosa, who is a tenor sax player out of Austin. He runs a horn section called the Groove Line Horns.
Okay.
He had actually run into and gotten to know Reggie Watkins, who was the trombone player and the music director at that point.
Yeah.
So he connected Reggie and I. Reggie told me put together an audition tape, which at that point was a CD.
Yeah.
And I did. I put a couple of things together. I had a CD out at that point that I was okay with. To me, it was still just a far-fetched dream that I would ever do anything really serious. And lo and behold, long about February of 2004, I got a call from Reggie, and he said, "I'd like to offer you the position of third trumpet / valet."
Question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you there.
Go ahead.
What was it about the CD? Did you ever find out what was it about what they heard? What was it that they heard that got you the gig?
I have no idea. I think the stars, the moon lined up. Listening back to that stuff now, I'm like, oh God, that's terrible. I don't know. I mean, it was a twist of fate, luck, maybe my angels and my guides, and like I said, the moon and the stars lined up, and everything just worked.
Was it a lot of high note stuff, jazz stuff? What was it?
No, it was some high note stuff. I think I did a rendition of Fantasy from Earth, Wind, and Fire, but I did it more like Maynard back in the 70s, like he had covered it.
Right.
I sent in a couple of tunes that were on my album that did not have any high stuff in it at all. And I think they just heard a good sound and saw somebody that was, interested and hungry.
Right.
And so that's essentially how I got offered the Maynard gig. I was not lead. Patrick Hessian was lead. When I first joined the band, Carl Fisher was playing second solo.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was, I tell you right now, the most terrifying moment in my life ever was stepping into that gig and hitting the stage and seeing Maynard Ferguson come out, and I'm on the side of the stage playing and I'm about ready to crap myself.
So let me ask you a question. A lot of and again, we're talking about the mentality. One thing I like is you address the mental state of performing well, and one of the things a lot of us go through is I don't belong here.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't belong here. So what was that your, like, how'd you get through that? Like, I mean, how'd you say, you know what? I worked my ass off. I believe I should be here. Or like, what happened?
That mindset really didn't start happening until a couple of years ago. Okay. I really struggled with the mentality and the mindset of I deserve this, because the whole time I was on the band, I was hearing you don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Not only from myself, but a few other select people. Yeah. And so that was really, really tough. I was calling home a lot, talking to my parents, talking to some very close friends that were kind of stilting me back up a little bit and saying, no, man, you're there for a reason. Keep going, keep going. And in speaking with Maynard, because I was his valet, I was around him the most. So I got to spend a lot of time with him. and ask him questions, and dig. And so one of the things I started doing was saying, man, I'm sorry if I don't sound good and I don't belong here. He's like, yeah, of course you belong here.
Great impression, by the way. That's a great impression.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But he was great. He was always very positive, always fun, never a dark individual, just a beautiful guy.
And so let me ask you this. So how long were you on the road with Maynard? You said a year?
Not quite a full year. I was on from late February until the very end of November, when we all flew back home to go and, for the holidays and whatnot.
Can I ask you, what is, every person I talk to that's played with the boss has a Maynard, like a thing that, like a Maynard moment. Like they have a Maynard, like they're like, man, if you saw it, you wouldn't believe it.
You mean a story of Maynard himself?
No, I'm just talking about like, a time where he and he addressed everybody else, or like a time where maybe he talked to you or something you took away from that band.
Yeah, there were a couple of times. We had gone through and done the European tour. It was the fall of 2004, and we were somewhere in South Carolina or Virginia. And the band director that hosted us didn't really do any, should we say, selling of the concert. And so we had a grand total of maybe 34 people in the audience. And that includes the high school band that opened for us. And, it was a dark time. So we all hit the bus and we're all just kind of sitting around going, oh, that sucked. Maynard comes on the bus and he looked at everybody and he said, and I'll never forget this. He said, one thing you guys need to keep in mind is our job is to take, whether it be one person or the entire audience filled, 1,000 people or more, we have to take them out of their lives and put them somewhere better for 75 minutes. And he said, my question to each individual is, did you do that tonight? And he walked back to the back of the bus, closed his door, and that was it.
So yeah, like I said, that's heavy, man.
Very
that's
heavy.
what we're here to. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do.
Right.
We're here to, not only entertain, but we're here to cause emotion and forget your problems. I mean, especially with this pandemic thing going on.
And it was the first time I'd ever heard anybody, especially of that stature, say something that was so selfless and not selfish, because his concern wasn't, oh, I hit a double C tonight, or I played a triple octave quadruple G, whatever. It didn't matter. To him was the audience's reaction and how did he fulfill his duties. And that really started to change my perspective on what I do and why I do it.
You're absolutely right. And like one thing, I when I first met you, you were playing with Mike Barone Big Band. You were playing the lead and at the Union in LA. And one of the things I really liked about you, or I just dug about you, is that when we got to talking, and again, I think this goes to a lot of guys who do this as a hobby, or a lot of students. Your view is, hey man, this is not a competition. Nope. This is so not a competition. I think the fact when we started talking, and you're like, look, man, I'm not in competition with anybody. Yeah. I'm not here I'm not in LA to be the top studio player, and you're very capable of doing that,
Thank you.
And so, but it's like, so why don't you talk about that mindset? Because a lot of us, we can't reach our full potential because we have that mindset. We're in competition with someone else. We're in competition with this band, or we're trying to win this audition, or we're trying to do this, and we're trying to do this, and we're not thinking about the whole picture. It's a big world. And I think that's one thing you told me. It's a huge world.
It is. And there's always somebody out there that can play circles around you. And so, it took a long time for me to learn to put my ego aside and actually listen to somebody and go, wow, man, you're a great player. Yeah. And start picking their brains to figure out what they do and befriend them, instead of turning against them and going, he sucks, and finding every little tiny thing that you can to demean that person in your mind to make you feel better about you. because ultimately that's what it is. Any kind of a bully or anybody that sits there and goes, "Ah, man, he sucks." It all comes from a space of fear and from being very, I'm not going to say weak-minded, but you're weak in your heart.
Yeah.
It takes a very strong individual to look at somebody and go, "Man, I really appreciate what you do. You sound great."
Yeah.
And be willing to help people and also be willing to help yourself and talk to the people that impress you. Like, "Hey man, how'd you do that?"
Yeah.
That starts to change the whole mindset. And when you take should we say, the illusion of competition away,
Yeah.
put it out of your mind, you start kind of opening up your own doorways, because I'm in competition with what I did yesterday.
Right.
No one else.
Right.
I want to sound as best I can every single day and keep improving. And so, because I'm not looking at a ghost over here that I'm worried about, I'm looking in the mirror. My growth started to kind of exponentially gain, if you will.
Right. Because I've seen a lot of very talented people just not do anything because they're still chasing, they're still waiting for Stan to pick them up on the bus. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
So I guess that's just they're waiting for that big break. Right. Instead of maybe going out, starting their own big band, starting their own this, that. They're still waiting for that call.
Right.
And so anyway, so you get off the road with Maynard.
Mm-hmm.
And then so what now? You have this name, you have this prestigious name that, again, I want to stress this enough, accolades like that don't exist anymore. I'll never have those accolades. Those are some things that just, they aren't around. So you have this name, you have this, I played with Maynard,
right?
But what happens now?
Well, to be honest with you, when I left the band, I couldn't play high C anymore. I had gotten mixed up, mouthpiece wise. I got mixed up equipment wise. Was really, really struggling to just get through the gigs. I mean, my biggest dread of the day was the show tonight. And that was the whole reason I was out there, So the writing was on the wall as to why I needed to leave the band, not only because of personal things going on at home with my dad, but also just what was going on inside my mind. So when I left, the night that I gave notice to Maynard, he knew I was really struggling, and he was gracious enough and kind enough to sit down with me and say, "What's going on? Show me what's happening." So I went back and I had this plethora of mouthpieces, who the manufacturer will remain nameless. And he gave me the best advice, because I mean, literally my mindset was, when I leave this band, I'm going to sell my gear and never look back.
Wow.
And I was so ready to quit. I was defeated. I was defeated emotionally. I was defeated musically. I just was worn out. He told me, "Go home, take 2 weeks off, get a Bach 7C, and go back and start doing Clark studies and Arbans and just go back and regrow."
I've heard that a lot, like from a lot of former Maynard alum.
Yeah.
Where, after the smoke clears and they're done, this right here, there's problems.
Oh yeah.
And they go see Bobby, or they go see so and so. So you've had to come back as a player. Now I want to talk about that real quick.
Sure.
You've had to come back as a player, and a lot of us too. A lot of us, the thing is, I'm over, I'm done, I'm gonna quit. I know some guys, even on a friend of mine, close friend, had nerve damage on his chops, and he's slowly coming back.
Sure.
So can you tell us how you were able to come back, and what did you do?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically I had to go in, and I didn't have a teacher. I wasn't taking lessons. So I basically had to go in and start digging out the old books. I wasn't practicing right. I didn't have any guidance whatsoever. So I was doing what I could. I gained back some range, but it wasn't real reliable. I was of the mindset that I was blaming gear more than anything.
I think we all do that.
Yeah, we do. And it's so easy to look at your horn or your mouthpiece during the day and go, "Man, it was working yesterday. Must be the mouthpiece," And it's not. It's really not. So I was fortunate enough when I was touring with Maynard that I encountered and met Arturo, and what a humbling experience, So in starting to reach out to him through the years after Maynard, I basically went back and started working for the same cover band I was with before, teaching lessons and kind of just floundering, if you will, in Austin, Texas. So yeah, that's there was no name usage or recognition. Although because I did tour with Maynard, I was hired to a college called Temple College, which is about 60 miles north of Austin.
Okay.
They hired me to be the adjunct professor for trumpet. Yeah. And I was lead trumpet for their big band, which was a great big band. They always hosted, concerts and whatnot. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Is that the one Trent Austin was in?
No.
Oh.
Trent was. I don't know which one. Trent was up in Boston at that point.
Oh.
Yeah, but this is Temple College, not Temple University.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And so, so you're rebuilding. You're starting from, because I've known people. This is Keith, this is a thing, man. I didn't know how much of a thing it is. Guys are blowing their chops out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, guys are. I mean, I've heard of a few, but now as I'm going into the talking with other players and getting my reach is going a little farther. Mm-hmm. This is a thing.
It's a big thing.
It's a big thing. And what would you say? I have a close friend of mine. He had killer chops in high school. Then when he went to the Manhattan New School of Music, and he blew his chops out there. And he went and saw a guy. I don't even know the name. Some name guy out in New York City. Okay. And the guy just told him to pack it up.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then, so I said, dude, why don't you talk to Craig Johnson? If Craig had to rebuild but so what would your advice be to guys that are sitting there with their horn right now going, man, this is never going to work? What would you? Well, from what you've learned.
From what I've learned sitting here at this moment.
Yeah.
We are at a 2-foot disadvantage. And I think a lot of the problems are systemic from overblowing and overplaying. And it's coming from, if you look at the horn itself, if you measure from the end of the mouthpiece to the end of the bell, it's 2 feet.
Yeah.
And then you've got space between where your lips are and your ears are. So now we're over 2 feet, the bell's out in front of us.
Right.
And if you've ever been in a situation where someone is walking away from you, they're 2 feet in front of you, it's difficult to hear them. Now add background noise like a band. And so what ends up happening is we get sucked into this playing harder and louder and harder and louder and harder and louder. And the one thing that I can take away, well, there's a whole plethora of things I can take away with Arturo, but there's a significant difference between playing with a full sound and a loud sound.
Okay.
And I think the guys right here,
yeah,
I had this misconception that I had to be loud. And so I was killing my chops trying to play loud and trying to play high.
Right.
I would go through, or I'd have 2 or 3 days of stellar chops and then 3 months of just total crap.
How'd you fix that?
Well, I got with Arturo, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Basically going back to the drawing board and learning to practice the right way, the right stuff the right way. And understanding that, I think the biggest telltale thing was when I bought a phone and I started videoing myself practicing, and I would have the phone sitting next to me here, and I'd be facing this way, and it would almost be feeding back because the microphone is small and it's picking up so much sound.
Right.
That was telling for me, going, good Lord, am I really playing that hard and that loud?
Right.
And then, of course, being with Arturo and having him say, whoa, why are you playing so loud?
Yeah.
And it's difficult to get out of that mindset if you don't have someone saying, bro, you're playing way too hard and way too loud.
Right.
And then you start to kind of pull things in and you focus more on your sound. You focus more on good exercises, or I should say doing the exercises that we all know about the proper way.
Right. And you know what? One of the things I noticed about you is that, and sitting next to you, you're a smart player.
Oh, thank you.
When I say a smart player, it looks effortless. It really does. And I mean, you're not you're not playing, like I said, you're not, I can't, I don't hear, when I sit next to you, I mean, I just hear this sound come out, and then you just project. So one of the things I've noticed amongst a lot of, especially when I go hear the DCI guys, and I hear, especially some of the younger lead players out there, it's, the conception is it's about brute force.
And it's really not.
And it's about finesse. Can you explain how, when you're sitting in the lead chair, how you, and again, you're a very musical lead player. That's one thing I loved about you playing. You're very musical. You're not there to, you're not killing the thing, Right. I mean, and you phrase more like a soloist.
Well, that's again through the guidance of Arturo. There's a lot of things that have changed about me and my playing in the last 3 years. That wasn't always the case.
Yeah.
When I first started learning to solo, which was late 2012, early 2013, yeah. I was soloing like a lead player, and it was horrible. There was over articulation or no articulation at all. I was overblowing. I was overplaying a lot. And so all those things cumulatively, when you and I met at the union that day, I had already been really headlong into studying with and practicing with Arturo. And so that had really started to change my conception of things, or my interpretation. I think we all know, as a lead trumpet player, I think the misconception for young players is it's the high notes that make you the best lead trumpet player. And there's nothing further from the truth. What makes you a great trumpet player or a great lead trumpet player is how you phrase, your style, your use of dynamics, how musically you can make that phrase go. Right. Because you and the drummer are tethered together, and then the lead alto, the lead trombone, we all have to work, as a symbiotic thing. And so the more you learn how to actually play the correct style, and you actually learn how to use dynamics and phrase in a musical sense, where it's 2-bar, 4-bar, 8-bar, whatever it may be, right, that will start to change things. The high notes, man, that's just cherries on top of the icing.
Yeah. You know what? Let me ask you this. And again, I'm not, I mean, yeah, I am part of the Keith Fiala fan club, but the one of the things I've noticed is that the telltale sign of a great lead player is how easy it is to play next to them.
Oh, thank you.
And it was very, I mean, I've heard a lot of guys, especially that I've sat next to you, to say, man, it's so easy to play next to him. Wow. It's so easy. There's some lead players where you got to fight, and they're scorching the earth with their sound, and it's like, and that's one thing I've had to learn. I've had to learn to back off. And but the thing is how do you as a lead trumpet player, or as a trumpet player, but when you're sitting in the lead chair, how do you make it easy for your fellows? Like, how do I make these guys follow me?
I try to phrase in a way that's understandable and easy to follow. I try to project, or should I say telegraph, what I'm going to do stylistically. So if I'm going to hit a whole note, and I know the whole section has it, I try to make sure that everybody knows consistently that whole note is not going to be da, it's going to be ta, so there's movement and there's growth. Right. That also comes from communicating with the section and saying, hey, look, guys, when we get to so-and-so, make sure that you're going do da, not do da, and just telegraphing, basically. Okay.
Also, question, when so you talk about the move to LA. So you're in Austin, mm-hmm, and you're kind of like, okay, well, what next? You got off the road, Maynard.
I did.
Why are you moving to LA?
Okay, so I left late 2004 with Maynard. I basically went right back into my old lifestyle, kind of hiding in a cover band. It was just playing weddings and bar mitzvahs and corporate parties and churches and whatnot. And I think after I really started studying with Arturo, and going out and seeing him once, twice, sometimes 3 times in a year, I really started going, wow, there's got to be something more for me than this. So in early 2015, I was staying with him, and I said, tell me the honest truth. Do I even stand a remote chance of making any kind of a living out in Los Angeles as a trumpet player?
Yeah.
And he said, I'll be honest with you, and I've never had anybody say this before. He said, Austin is a flower pot, and LA is the earth, and you are a tree.
Yeah.
You need to plant yourself in the earth and get out of the flower pot.
Right.
And I never forgot that. He never said, yes, you would make it.
Yeah.
No one can. There's no way. But he was always very encouraging, always very kind. But also, I'm not going to say stern or strict, but
matter of fact
and unrelenting. Yeah. In a very beautiful, positive way.
Right.
And so it was 2017, early 2017, he come to San Antonio to play at TMEA, which is Texas Music Educators Association. It's a big thing in San Antonio. And so I knew he was coming. I went down, spent the day with him, and we were talking, and he just kind of off the cuff at lunch said, when are you moving to LA? And he'd said that a couple of times. And I'm like, well, I'm working on it, sir. I really want to get out there. I just don't know. And he said to me, okay, we need to talk. And so I didn't think much about it. We went to a cigar shop so we could get a cigar. Then we went back to his hotel room because he had to pack and leave. And he said, okay, sit down. And he said, I want you to join my band. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, I stopped and was like, jaw hit the floor. And I said, what? And he said, basically, I need your help. You won't necessarily be playing all the time, but I need your guidance. I need your help to make sure that, things are set up for me. I need a road manager that can really help me. And so what was I going to say? No.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from being very emotional and in tears from being overjoyed, completely humbled and honored, I couldn't say yes fast enough.
Right.
So that prompted the move from Austin to LA. I was pretty over Austin as it is, just from the heat, humidity, and just, a myriad of things I just got worn out with. And when I moved out to LA, I started working with Arturo, and he said, look, I need a practice partner.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And so the more we got together and the more we practiced, the more it became lessons for me.
Right.
And oh my God, to say that he's completely, profoundly changed my life and my playing doesn't even scratch the surface.
So, one thing I like about El Jefe is that he's into the musicality of everything. He's into music in general.
Yes.
If it's good music, it's good. Exactly. One thing I've noticed that when we did, and again, we were so lucky to have you with the virtual trumpet ensemble. We were so blessed. One thing we noticed is that there were two schools that complement each other. You had Walt, and we'll put the link on the bottom if you haven't seen the video yet. But there was two schools. There was Walt Johnson, who's a veteran, an amazing trumpet player, and then you guys just really complimented. It was kind of like the old school show LA big band lead trumpet player, and then you had this kind of like this other school of playing. And one thing I heard a lot is that you could hear Arturo's influence in your playing.
Oh, thank you.
And and so, like, let me ask you this: what is Maestro like? What is the one thing Maestro has taught you that you could share with every one of us, that you would be like, this is what it's all about, kind of thing?
Man, I mean, that's a loaded question, because we could be here for days talking about the things that he shared with me and exposed me to. There are many profound points, and to pin down just one would be difficult. His concept of music and musicality has probably been the biggest thing. We all know from years of watching him on videos and listening to him in concerts, his chops are unbelievable. He doesn't practice high range. And that was one of the biggest misconceptions I had that I had to fix. So that's probably the biggest takeaway for me. I don't sit here and practice high notes. I practice fundamentals. I practice Arbens, Clark, Dachsheiser, Schlossberg, the flexibilities, that stuff. But I do it with what he calls reverence of sound.
Okay. Now, one thing that you shared with me is that the Dachsheiser book, you called it Medicine for Your Face. Can you explain that? Can you talk about that a little bit?
It's the Timothy Dachsheiser book is something I got turned on to through Arturo. I'd heard of him and I'd heard him play a little bit, but Arturo actually studied with him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so as we were working together and practicing together, he would pull the Dachsheiser book, and of course it would just make me go, oh God, I'm going to sound terrible doing this. Yeah. And the more I got into it and the more I started watching his approach to everything, from the beginning of the note to the middle of the note to the end of the note, and his reverence for every single note, I started going, wow, this is a game changer.
Yeah.
And so the medicine for the face is nothing's high. Nothing in this book goes above maybe an F above high C written.
Yeah.
Everything else is right in the meat and potatoes of the range in the staff.
Right.
And the one thing he's instilled in me is that, if you're going to play an entire etude, a full page,
right,
and the people recording you are going to use 6 notes and you have no idea what 6 notes on the page they're going to use, they all damn well better sound the same. Same reverence, same character, same color, same intonation, the whole 9 yards. And that really started to change my concept of practicing.
Cool.
So that's why it's medicine for the face, because it's taking care of just more than high range.
So if it's cool with you, man, I mean, dude, we could be here till Thursday talking. So is it cool? Can we take some questions?
Please, sure.
So Avery from Arizona, I actually know Avery. He's a really cool kid. This is his question to you. He's like, I'm going through a big embouchure change right now. Okay. Any tips for working through it and getting through the barrier? I'm a senior in high school lead player.
Okay. If you're going through an embouchure change, my first question is why. So the best thing you can probably do during any kind of a change on the setup is to play softly, play focused, do fundamental things, focus on your sound. Your sound will always be your guide, always. If it's a pretty centered, focused sound, you're on the right track. If it's airy, there's problems.
Yeah.
If it's buzzy and it doesn't have good core, there's problems.
Right.
So always let your sound be your guide. Make sure that you're doing flexibilities the right way. Not using the hand or anything else like that. And just always focus on your sound and play softer.
And I hear that a lot. Sound is everything.
Sound. Yeah. That's the first thing that anybody listening to you is going to notice.
Right. And that's one thing I always was taught. Sound is everything. And I heard that's one thing a lot of great players have in common is that they say sound is everything.
It is.
So like here's another thing too. So, you're with Arturo and then, you break into LA, you're kind of, you're working close with Maestro. And so you decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to do this with my career. Mm-hmm. And, you're not waiting for Capitol Records to call you. You're not waiting for, you're just saying, I'm going to do this not because you're not qualified. It's just, you're like, this is what I'm going to do with my career. And I think it's a very good move for a lot of people who are afraid to take that leap because, can you explain the decision you going like you said, this is what my future is going to be. And this is how I'm going to, this is what I'm going to do with my
sure.
career.
Sure. I guess the first thing is I will never leave Arturo's side for any reason. I owe him in so many ways, just because he's become like a father to me. He's a guide. He's kind of a father figure in many, many ways. But what actually brought me to the career choice I've made now, which is to have a solo career, is the fact that I did the cover band thing. I did the show up and here's your page, you're going to read it down, play it kind of thing for a lot of years. And I think watching a live audience react, respond, and feel their energy, because any performance you've ever given or been at, there's a symbiosis between the stage, what's happening up here, and what's happening in the audience. And when it's this beautiful harmony going on, it's the most amazing thing you could ever have.
Right.
And that's what I want. Yeah. I want to be able to get on stage like Arturo, like Maynard did, and move my audience.
One thing I hear a lot is when you hear great players like Maestro, like, and I'm not trying to drop names, but I'm just saying like Maynard, Doc Severinsen, I mean, these people that influence us all, Maurice Andre, all these great players. One thing I've heard them all say is that they play with heart. Exactly. They play with, and can you kind of get into that about playing with heart?
Yeah, it's don't play selfishly. I think a lot of us play with ego and listen to me. I went to TMEA early in January to help a buddy out, and I watched this one particular student come up, and he played a high C to a high E, peeled the horn off his face, and he's looking around. And I thought, boy, isn't that just kind of typical of a lot of musicians, that they're playing selfishly. Yeah. They're not thinking about what message they're portraying to their audience. One thing that Arturo instills is that he said the biggest compliment he can have is to look out into the audience and see somebody doing this, because he's playing and it's moving them.
Right.
He plays with no ego whatsoever. Maynard played with no ego whatsoever. They played because they love it and they want to take what's here and give it to you.
Right. And you know what, too? That's not easy to do every night.
It's not. It's
every single night. And I have yet to see Maestro or any one of those guys just walk on and go, oh, well. It's always memorable. Every time I've seen Arturo, it's been memorable. Every time I saw Maynard, even at the close to the end of his life, it was memorable,
And music I think music is such a big thing for them. Yeah. You'll never see them walk on and phone it in. Ever.
So I think that's a good way of, a lot of, play like if it's your last day on earth,
Exactly.
I got another question if you don't mind.
Please.
Okay. Brandon asked this. He goes, how would you recommend, identifying a bad habit and then going about breaking a bad habit?
Okay. Identifying a bad habit can be difficult unless you're very aware of it.
Yeah.
Breaking the habit is just basically going to take consistency and self, I'm not going to say self-medicating, but self-discipline to where anytime you start to fall into that habit, stop yourself and go back and go, nope, we've got to do it right, which means painfully slowing things down. And I mean, I'm not a patient person. So I have a very difficult time slowing myself down and going, okay, I've got to clean this.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing for me and growing has been to have to take a step back and go, okay, that's not where I'm at. I need to really fix that.
Now I've seen a lot of really pro players on this thing, and I thank them all for being here. One of the things is I've heard a lot of guys say this. I think this is one of my questions to you. How I've heard this, guys, we all go through life problems. We all go through this. How do you consistently have the right mindset? Because, there are opportunities we get, like, I've heard stories of guys going into, what is this? Going into recording sessions, like just the moment they get a divorce, or something like that. So it's like, anyway, how would you how would you talk to someone, or how would you tell someone how to keep in the right mindset when you play? Like how to stay in that right mindset, because there are times where it is do or die.
It is, yeah. It's one of those things where I think music for me is a sanctuary.
Yeah.
Practicing in my practice room, it has to be a sanctuary, and it has to be my safe place.
Yeah.
And I think that's what has seen me through some really, really, really bad things.
Yeah.
Throughout my life, throughout my childhood, throughout my early adult years, and just everything I've experienced, it's always been the practice room that's kind of kept me going.
Yeah.
We all have things that occur. I mean, look at COVID-19. We're all shut-ins. Since being shut in, all I've done was just practice.
Yeah.
And some days are more devoted than others.
Right.
Not to say that every single day is just like this, but for the most part, it's I wake up in the morning and I look forward to walking the dog, getting my cup of coffee, and coming upstairs and sitting down with my horn and going, "Let's do this."
Yeah, I got a question from Michael.
Okay.
It's a band director question. Do you have a message? What message do you have for the modern day musician? Like, what message would you have for someone who wants to do this for a living?
If you really, really want to do this, there's nothing stopping you. There's always room for more. But like any other career choice, whether you decide to be an architect, or you decide to be an attorney, or you decide to be a doctor, you've got to go in with everything, your whole heart. You're basically, you have to commit to doing what we do, and becoming the best that you can become, not competing with anybody else. It really has to be a choice that you make that, I mean, like I said, the guys that I've worked with, Arturo, Maynard, the guys that I've been around and talked with, they are the best at what they do. And they are the best at what they do for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not about natural ability, or that they were just handed down, somebody sprinkled fairy dust on them. It's none of that. Right. It has everything to do with their level of commitment to their craft. And again, whether it be music, or it be building cars, or whatever, building a microphone, you have to be 100% dedicated.
Now, one of the things I hear Maestro talk about, he goes, well, other people are out, on this COVID-19. You talk about when you practice, make sure you're a better player at the end of your practice than you were when you started.
Right.
Can you go into that just a little bit?
Sure. The two things that should not happen when you get done practicing. Number one, you shouldn't feel completely like you spent every ounce of energy and your chops are hurting. Yeah. If your chops are hurting at the end of a practice session, whether it be 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
If you feel mentally spent and feel good, you've done good practicing. If you feel scattered and you feel absolutely like you wasted your day, then there wasn't enough mental focus. And when you come into the practice room, like he's told me so many times, and I've heard him say at clinics and things, your ability to walk into the practice room and practice is a gift from God.
Okay.
Don't deny that, because anytime you get the chance to sit down with your instrument, you should be going, thank you. And he's exactly right with that. It's not time to sit around and putz, through this and that and just kind of happenstantially do things. It's time to really buckle down and take care of business.
Right. Now, I have another question, if it's okay.
Sure, please.
Okay, this was again from Avery. My embouchure was set way to the left side of my lips, and it was affecting my endurance and sound, so I'm moving closer to the middle. That's why I'm going through a change.
Okay.
What is the next step? What would you suggest? Like,
the next step, again, I'd say, is focus on good sound. Do things that will heal your sound. Playing softer, playing with more focus, trying to do, articulation studies coupled with that, so that you have a good build of things. Work on the entire stretch of the register. Don't focus just on high notes, focus on lower notes below where the instrument is. That will help. There's a myriad of things, and make sure you've got a good teacher that will guide you through this. Probably the first and foremost thing I can say at all.
One thing Keith, that one thing I always tell a lot of people, gosh, I don't know why I'm stuttering. One thing I always tell people is that, they're always afraid to approach guys like yourself, or they're especially young students, because, they'll catch a certain name player on the wrong day. And, when I was a kid, I went up to, a superstar in the biz, and he ignored me, and I'm like, well, F him, and that left a stigma with me that I can't, I'm really kind of hesitant about going to people and talking to them. But one thing, you were very approachable, and, we had lunch, and you were sitting there, just talking away. But the thing is when you have, as far as students are involved, or even amateurs, or, and finding, what would you recommend? How do people find the right teacher?
I think it has to be, I'm fortunate because with the teacher that I've got now, Arturo, we have a connection that is deeper than just music and deeper than just boss and employee.
Right.
There's a true connection there. I think what it is it, as much as a teacher can guide you and you have to be a good student, the student also has to understand that the teacher has to be willing to share all information. When I was a kid, and one of the points I want to make, I never got caught with the I couldn't read thing. We never talked about sound. We never talked about fundamentals. We never talked about a myriad of things. Looking back, going, wow, how did I recover from that?
Right.
Looking forward now, I think one of the things in watching people approach Maynard, watching people approach Arturo, along with many other players, is that you have to understand that when you come to see them at a performance, they're working. So They're in a different mindset. And you cannot approach someone like you're entitled for the information. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make is, at the end of the day, we're all human.
Right.
And if I don't get a good vibe from you, I'm probably going to kind of stand back and go like, you know what? I'm good. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Go away. So you always have to approach these people with the understanding that, number one, they're working. Number two, you have to approach it from a standpoint of, I'm going to be a good human.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not a good human, I don't want to be around you.
Right. And one thing I tell a lot of people is, you might catch them on the wrong day. You might, they had a bad flight. They had this, they had,
right.
They're dealing with the promoter trying to get paid, this, that, the other. But for one of the things, a lot of people in your position, one of the things, I think they forget is that you are a role model, and because of where you've been, like I said, there's everybody on this panel stuff. We will never have that opportunity in our lifetime to play with someone like Maynard Ferguson, and you've been there. So when a student comes up to you, you are a role model. You are, because that's something that they'll never achieve per se in that, and so again, I can't talk today. So if a student approaches you, or a young kid, or whatever, or someone you don't know, and they ask you, how do you do what you do? What is your Reader's Digest answer?
What is my Reader's Digest answer?
Yeah.
Basically, getting in, practicing the proper way every single day consistently. And it comes down to fundamentals. It comes down to, looking for chord sound, looking for clarity and cleanliness, taking care of the machine, basically.
Yeah.
That's the end game, the bottom line.
Do you take days off?
No.
Not by choice, anyway.
No, not by choice. I have, should we call, light days where I'll warm up. because I need to let the chops heal.
Yeah.
I still fall into the thing where I tend to over practice.
Mhm.
I get very tunnel visioned at times, and I'll start, like I was sitting here working on Joy Spring the other day, trying to play through the changes. I probably went through it 12 times and went, why can I, I can't play. And then I went, oh my God, I've been here for like 6 hours. And so the next day I decided, okay, I'm just going to warm up. I'm going to do healing things that, again, Arturo has shown me to do. And then I took the majority of the day off, came back and maybe did a few other things, but I didn't push hard.
No, and here's another thing too. I mean, one of the things you and I talked about was the word success and what that means. Because to everybody that means something different. Success doesn't necessarily mean you have all the gigs in town.
No.
Success doesn't necessarily mean you're a top call in whatever town you're in. Success doesn't mean that you have 100 million likes on your Facebook page. What would you tell a young person or a person starting out, or even some of us who are just doing this, we're doing this as a career, we're doing this to put food on our families' tables. What would you say what does success mean to you?
Success is a loaded word.
Yeah.
I feel very successful right now.
Yeah.
Because
you have a BMW, yeah.
I feel successful because I'm dedicated, I'm devoted, and I'm doing what I am absolutely passionate about.
Right.
To me, even if I don't make over X amount of thousands of dollars per year, but I can pay my bills, I can eat, I can have, some luxuries.
Toilet paper.
I'm more than blessed.
Yeah.
To me, that's success.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to make more money. Everybody wants to do this, and they want to have more accolades and win a Grammy and, win an Oscar, whatever. But it shouldn't be about the money. And I think like shows like The Voice and American Idol and all these different TV shows, they show music in a very, very bad light because everyone's out for the brass ring. Everyone's out to make the $1 million and win the show. Right. And it should really be that you wake up at the beginning of the day and you look and you think, wow, I'm doing exactly what I love. I don't have to go punch a clock. I don't have to sit in a cubicle farm typing away for 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, for somebody else that's going to tell me when I can go eat lunch, when I can go pee, how many vacation days I have, and if I call in sick, am I going to get in trouble?
Yeah.
I don't have that. And that to me is success.
All right.
I can call up Arturo and say, how you doing, boss?
Yeah.
And to me, that is like a blessing.
Right.
And yeah, I played with Maynard. That to me, it was a blessing that happened. I needed that. Yeah. But that was also a very, very, very difficult aspect of my life too. Right. It showed me, it basically, I think I was divided. This way could have gone to where I was like, not going to play ever again. And this way was going to be like headlong into where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And it was really a crossroads. And I'm fortunate that I had people that loved me, and stand behind me and went, no, man, keep going. This is your dream. Don't give up.
One of the things I hear a lot, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've said this, one of the things is play the right notes at the right time and try to get along with everybody.
Be a nice guy. Yeah. Be a nice guy.
Yeah.
We're not curing COVID-19, dude. We're not curing cancer. There is no, should we say, major award at the end of the show because you played a G above high C louder than everybody else. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you're a nice guy and you get along with people, you will work.
Yeah.
Take care of business, practice, be the best player that you can be, and be the best human you can be.
Right. Because, there are some guys where you get on the bandstand, you're like, oh my God, I got to sit next to this guy, and then, what, and here's another thing too. For some of the professionals that are here, there are times when we start seeing this as a chore. I got to play another R&B gig. Oh,
yeah.
Not another Latin gig. Oh,
I've been there. I've been there. Yeah.
I mean, what would you suggest as far as, you know, you even said this too, you know, you have to have like an art project rich your palette
Yep.
for, you know, from all the stuff that we have to do.
Right.
Uh, what would you tell people that, you know, how would you go about doing that? Like you said, you got to have something else to look forward to. That way, when you play, whatever gig, and you're like, oh my God, not another bar mitzvah, and then you start banging your head on the, you know, like. So, can you talk about that real quick?
Sure. Yeah, I think the easiest way to break the monotony and the mundane side of things is to push your limits. Do things that are going to scare you. One of the things, and you have been a saving grace along with another friend of mine. I decided to bite the bullet and start going into Logic and recording myself, and that scared the crap out of me. I started toying around with it and would always just kind of go, "Ooh, that's too difficult," and I'd walk away from it. And so when this whole lockdown thing happened,
Yeah.
I could have stayed and done the same thing, the same routines, the same jazz tunes, all that stuff, and within a few weeks been very mundane.
All right.
And I decided, no, I'm gonna push the limits. I'm gonna push my boundaries.
Yeah.
And so I think for anybody out there, whether you're in high school or you're a professional player now, and you're just kind of going through and doing the gigs that you need to do to keep food on the table, push the boundaries, push the things that scare you, do the things that, or at least start pushing towards the things that will make you maybe have other doors and windows open.
Right.
I don't know where this is going to lead. I don't know where having Logic on my computer is really going to take me. Yeah. But it's another thing that has made me go, I can do this.
Cool. I got one more question, if that's cool with you.
Please, yeah.
All right, Anthony, and I believe Anthony's a pro player as well. Awesome. Are you a believer that everything should be done on one mouthpiece?
That's a loaded question. Because the second you say yes, you're going to have 10 other guys that break the rule.
Yeah.
I think because we're all physically made up differently, we all physically respond differently. Yeah. I know, like, for instance, Arturo can play a 1 1/4 C and play triple C's. He can play a 3 C and play triple C's.
But he's also a freak of nature.
For me, my rule of thumb is I can change the variables around the rim size, but the rim size always stays the same. So I can change depth, I can change backbore, throat, the whole 9 yards, but the rim size stays the same for me. Yeah. And it seems to work. I learned that the hard way because I was using a 1C for classical stuff, and I was using a 7C for this, and then things got confused, and it was never good.
Right.
So, but whatever you're going to do, practice on it so you know what to expect from the equipment.
Now, quick question. Now, let's talk again. We're over time, but if it's cool, can I have like maybe 10 more minutes of your time?
I'm here, man.
Okay. Let's talk about equipment real quick.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Safari that everybody talks about. I mean, guys, we are the biggest consumers. Trust me. Of equipment. Trumpet players are the biggest consumers. I think I read something in ITG, like they were talking about that. Now, say some of us are parents, and some of us, we have kids that you're starting off, and let me ask you, to a parent, say your kid's ready going from high school to college, and he wants to major in this, and it's equipment time.
Okay.
Or like, could you share your thoughts on equipment?
Call Mike Del Quadro.
He does make great horns, man. He makes great horns.
That guy, I love Mikey. Mikey amazes me. And there's a lot of great manufacturers out there. I think, that can be a dangerous thing because parents that are not musicians don't know. So they'll go to the lesson teachers or the band directors. And a lot of times what they are told is what equipment maybe the band director plays, or, everyone needs a box Strad. I'm not a box Strad guy. There's nothing against them. I just don't feel that I sound like me on that equipment.
Right.
My best piece of advice is try every piece of equipment you can get your hands on. Schilke, Bach, Yamaha, Mike Del Quadro, Trent Austin and ACB stuff, Austin Winds in Austin, Texas. Anytime you can get, like, for instance, we're lucky because we have NAMM coming through LA once a year. And there's a myriad of trumpet makers there.
Yeah.
And you can stand around and play around with the horns, but just don't play a bunch of high notes.
That's all. One thing I tell all my students is, if you're going to go try out a horn, don't go to ITG. Don't go to try out a horn anyway. Like, the thing is because everybody's screaming bloody murder next to you and you can't hear anything. You can't hear how it responds. You can't hear, because the guy sitting next to you is playing E above double C.
Right.
It's like, how can you really feel the horn? And
right.
So like here's one question I get a lot, Keith, from young players, is that, I mean, there are different schools of thought we talk about, and then I guess the right tool for the right job, maybe.
Totally.
Okay.
I think, my lead horn is not the horn that I practice with all of the time.
Okay.
I tend to gravitate towards a darker, more warm sound because that's what I like. That's what I want. But I also have learned that doesn't always carry well or blend with the section as a lead trumpet player. And I think, just because you're the lead trumpet player in the section doesn't make you some sort of god where everyone comes up to you,
Some people think so. Some people think so.
Yeah, well, yeah, they do. But I mean, if you're not blending with your second chair guy or your third chair or your fourth chair guy, you need to kind of rethink that, Yeah. And that's not to say that the fourth chair guy is wrong, because what if the fourth chair guy is Gary Grant? Are you going to tell him he's wrong? Not me. Yeah. So, I mean, you have to be, you're exactly right. The right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
And always focus on sound. I mean, there shouldn't be a crop of 15 mouthpieces laid out in front of the guy either. Yeah.
Because one thing I see at a lot of music stores is, like, say this 14-year-old girl will show up, or this 14-year-old student, and the first thing they do is they start unloading horns and they start unloading mouthpieces.
Sure.
They don't ask them questions. They don't say, hey, look, well, some of the ones I've seen anyway, they just start unloading horns. Like, here's the most expensive Strat we have. Here's a Maynard. Here's a Schilke. Here's another,
Right.
And the thing is that, I, like you said, I think whatever's comfortable for them to play and whatever they sound good on, that's a big thing that a lot of students do not really grasp, and that you've helped me see, is that, like, because I was telling you, man, I got this Stomvy, and now I got this Destino, and now I got this 100-year-old Bach. You're like, dude, which one do you sound best on?
Right.
Play that one.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, sitting behind me in this room behind me, I've got 8 horns out.
Right.
But it's not because one plays higher than the other or this or that or the other. It all has to do with characteristics. They all have different sounds that I like.
All right.
And so I'm kind of a horn junkie. I think every trumpet player is. We all have more than one. I don't think there's any right answer. God, if you talk to a guitar player, oh my God, those guys are nuts. But they're exactly right, because they all have different characteristics. If the horn feels good in your hand ergonomically, and it's the same blow as what you're looking for, especially if you're a pro guy or a college guy, then that's the horn that probably will speak best to you. For a young kid, I think the teacher has to be smart enough to guide the student towards the horn that will help them grow.
Yeah. And
not become this albatross around their neck.
Right. So, okay, well, I've kept you far longer than, but could you, is there anything you would like to tell everybody before we sign off? Is there anything you would like to share?
Arturo has taught me the definition of talent. The definition of talent or natural ability, honestly, is nothing more than what keeps you coming back to the practice room, what keeps you focused, what keeps you driven. Because we all have, this is a difficult instrument to play. It's probably one of the most difficult instruments on the planet. And nobody just falls into it and suddenly plays like God.
Yeah.
We all have to maintain, we all have to do, the things that, because it's a nasty mistress.
It is.
So, if if someone is telling you, like I've had in my past, you're not naturally talented enough, or you weren't born with those traits, baloney.
Mhm.
It's not a matter of being born with something. It's a matter of your drive and what makes you really hungry for this. And if you have an internal desire and a fire inside of you that makes you go, I want to do that, that's your natural ability.
Right.
Then the rest of it is up to you to thank God and say, okay, I'm going to practice. I'm going to take what you've given me inside and I'm going to do something with this.
Right. Because, like you said before, there's a lot of pros, they sit next to a name player and the name player looks over and be like, dude, saw your horn. And they do, I've seen that many times. I've seen that a whole bunch of times.
And I've experienced that as well. And those people, unfortunately, don't go away. But you have to have enough faith in your love for music and your love for your craft to just keep improving and keep getting better. And don't listen to the naysayers. The naysayers will always say nay, always. But they're also the ones that are sitting on their porch at the end of the day and not doing much.
Right. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it, well, Keith, and everybody here on the webinar, thank you so much. And again, guys, I want to thank on behalf of the Virtual Trumpet Ensemble, Keith, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you, man. I love your friendship and I appreciate you, brother.
And we'll be featuring Keith in the near future again. We will have another webinar next week. Join us. We'll have another special guest. So we'll be on the lookout for that. But all of you who joined us, guys, thank you so much for showing the love and support for Keith.
Thank you, guys.
And again, if you haven't seen the video, I'll go ahead and post the video on the bottom of the Facebook post. And go ahead and go to keithfiala.com and say hi to Keith and friend him on Facebook. Say hi. And, if every time, if you see, what I was going to say, give us say hi to Hefe for me.
I promise I will. In fact, he's my next call. As soon as we hang up, I've got to call him. So
okay. All right. So hey, brother, much love to you, and we will talk soon. And guys, thank you so much for joining this webinar. Everyone be safe, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, brother.
All right.